You know, the statistics say that the number one fear that people have is speaking in public. And the number two fear is death. Now you think about that. The next time that you go to a funeral, most of the people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. Isn't that kind of crazy? And I used to be so nervous that I just couldn't hardly do it. But then I began saying, well, God, you're with me. And I don't think these people are going to kill me. And so I'm going to do the best I can. So Rocky asked me to speak, and I, like I say, I was just thrilled at the opportunity. And he told me your theme is coming out of the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus is with his disciples, and they gathered around him, probably kind of like you guys are right now. And as he spoke to them, they looked at him as the man. And that's your theme as you're looking at the life of Christ, the man. Well, I want to kind of take you back, and I want you to think of Jesus as the teen. Did it ever occur to you that Jesus was a teenager? Now, what I would absolutely love is if we could go way back in time and we could just bring him up to the present and sit him right here as a teenager and ask him some questions. And you might have some, and maybe in your small groups you can share, this is a question I'd like to ask Jesus as a teen. I came up with some of my own. One that I might ask is, do you have any friends? Many friends? Do you ever worry what they think about you? Is that something you're concerned about? Do they like you? Do they ever make fun of you? Because you're always right. Do you ever feel left out? Maybe some of the really cool ones want to do something and you just know it's not right, and so you're just not a part of that group anymore. Do you have a girlfriend? I mean, that's a fair question to ask him. Have you ever had a zit right on the end of your nose and felt like everyone was looking at that? Have you ever done something really stupid and just wanted to run and hide? Have you ever had a bully give you a hard time? Well, as a matter of fact, I did, and I called down a legion of angels, and he is no more. No. That's what I would put, okay? But I think Jesus would say, yeah, there were bullies that I had to deal with. What are some of the things that you've always wanted to have as a teen? Some things that everyone else has, but you don't have. Carpenter's son, maybe you don't have a lot of money. Are you poor? Are you middle class? Are you rich? Does it even matter to you? Do you ever worry about what you'll be when you grow up? Do you worry about anything? Do you worry about what people really think about you? Do you worry about your stuff, like the clothes you wear, what others have that you don't have? Do you worry about your life? And then maybe one of you would be bold enough to ask him, when did you know that you weren't the son of Joseph, but the son of God? I'd love to hear his answers. I can't give them to you. I could speculate, I could wonder, but I think it's good for us to at least realize he was a teen. And even though I can't give you his answers, I can tell you some of my own. I know you probably find it hard to believe that I was a teenager at one time too. Yeah, really. Yeah, really. And it was tough. I can tell you that right before I became a teenager, my 6th grade year was probably my best year ever. You see, we had grade school from 1st grade through 6th grade. So in 6th grade, I was the man. I mean, I was the top of the heap. And even though I was kind of short, I wasn't that much shorter than everyone else because no one had hit that big growth spurt yet, so I was in there and I was fast. And I challenged you, I was the fastest kid in our school. And I took great pride in that. And there was this girl, Cindy Hinkle. Man, she was fine. The end of it, I know 6th graders, you think, yeah. I mean, I was there already. Guys, let me just tell you, you need to get in the game because you don't want to wait till all the good ones are taken. So Cindy Hinkle was out there, and at the end of school, we had this fair. And I decided I'm going to ask Cindy Hinkle to the fair. Asked her to the fair. Man, I was the man walking around, everybody like, wow, Kurt's not only got a date, he got Cindy Hinkle. And I was taking her up on the rides, and the Ferris wheels coming around. I'm standing there pretty proud of myself. And, as the Ferris wheel came around, the line went right under where it came over, and I heard this noise above me. And I looked up. And this girl was leaning over the chair on the Ferris wheel. And it was like I was frozen. I couldn't move. And it was coming down on me. And I was just covered with it. And I ran and went to the bathroom, just soaked my head and ran home. Last time I ever saw Cindy Hinkle. She moved. I went on to junior high. I don't know what happened to her. I haven't tried to find her on Facebook and say I'm sorry about that, But it was great, and then it just boom, just like that. I went from the man to the guy covered with puke, And those are moments in your life that you're just gripped, and so. Life went on. 7th grade was the toughest probably year for me. That was the year I became a teenager, 13. And it was a tough time interracially, the racial tension. And so they had this integration going on in the 1960s. That's when I was in junior high, 7th to 8th grade. And so I had to go down into where I was scared and people were taking my money and everyone grew, and these guys were big. I mean, there were 9th graders that needed to shave, and I didn't need to shave till I was in college, And it was just, I was insecure. I was changing. My environment was changing. It was a tough time for me. And so I know you're going through some of that stuff, and we'll go through some stuff. And you might say, so how does that relate to Matthew 6? Well, Matthew 6, as I read it several times, and I preached a whole series just on this chapter, okay? So Rocky says I have 20 minutes, which means I've got about, how many left? 11 minutes and 22 seconds. So Jesus, the man, gave us some wisdom in chapter 6 that I think is going to help us with this because it's about worry. And you might not initially pick that up, but the more I read it, he's talking about those issues that we worry about. And worry's not just a teen matter, something for teens. It's something that you're going to deal with all your life. You probably think, well, my parents don't have anything to worry about. Trust me, they probably have as much, if not more, to worry about than you do. And life is going to be filled with worry. And so Jesus is going to address that in Matthew 6. And so let's just jump into it. First of all, in verses 1 through 18, I pulled out worried about what others think of me. Man, that still affects me. As I was thinking, well, what do I wear tonight? The kids, certainly not going to wear a suit and tie, that'd be weird, and so just little things, worried about what others think about me. And don't get me wrong, it's okay to be concerned. You want to, fit in, but when it begins to control you and dominate you and worry, and that's what Jesus talks about. So, as a kid, I started out worrying about what others think about me because I was the shortest guy in the class, and so I felt like I had to prove something. And even to this day, Roxy will tell me when I go out mountain biking with Ashley's dad who just moved here, she says, you don't have to prove anything to Vince. I mean, we grew up together competing at everything, and I'm going to be 65 next month, and I still want to show him up. I still want him to think, Kurt's got it, man. You know? So I'm telling you, worrying about what others think is a big part of just life. And you're going to have to deal with that. And so Jesus deals with it here. He starts out by saying, watch out. Don't do your good deeds publicly to be admired by others. That's verse 1. So he kind of sets the stage with these disciples saying, people are going to be out there and you're going to be concerned about what they think. And so he's going to address these Pharisees and what they're worried about and what other people think about them. And they want to be seen as the super religious. I mean, we've got it all together. We are the best people. And we want everybody to see us as the best people. And so he goes on to say, first of all, you're worried about your giving. That people will see that, oh, you're so generous. And so he says, don't worry about what people think when you give. Look at giving to the poor in verse 2 through 4. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. You know, they wanted to sound a trumpet and say, I'm about to give some alms to the poor, and it's a very generous gift, and so it's worthy of announcing that I'm about to do this. And so they would just, try to say, look at what I'm doing. Look at how good I am. Worried about how they're seen when it comes to their giving, or what people think of them when they pray. Verses 5 through 15. When you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners and in the synagogues where everyone can see them. And they lift up their lofty prayers. And maybe you've heard some of those and you hate to judge, but you're like, man, that sounded more like you're trying to impress us with your big words, and you're even quoting scriptures that God gave you. You don't have to quote them to him, he knows. And so, he says, don't pray that way. Now, he's not saying don't pray in public. I think some are probably saying, I'm afraid to pray because I don't want anybody to think I don't know how to pray, or I don't know the right thing to say. Don't worry about what people think in that regard. We worry too much about what others are thinking of us, even when it comes to praying. And then he talks about fasting in verse 16 through 18. And when you fast, don't make it obvious, as the hypocrites do, for they try to look miserable and disheveled so people will admire them for their fasting. Oh, no, I'm not going to have any of the hamburgers and hot dogs tonight. I'm in a fast, and my hair's all messed up, and I'm just barely able to walk because, oh my goodness, but y'all go ahead and eat. You don't understand what it is to really have a connection with God like I do. You see, trying to impress them with their self-righteousness, and Jesus calls it hypocrisy. The word hypocrite really had to do with the actors. You're acting. That's not really who you are. And the thing I love about your generation is you're saying, hey, let's get real. Let's just be genuine. And even saying it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. So worried about what others think. Jesus, I think, is dealing with that. He had to deal with it as a teenager. As an adult, he knows his disciples are going to deal with it. When they go out to preach, there are going to be people saying, you got to stop doing this. And they're going to say, we have a choice. We can listen to you or we can listen to God. We're going to listen to God. And so that's why he's given this message. And then worry about your stuff. Verse 19 through 32. Did anyone notice that when Jesus talks, he's talking to them about real things? Verse 19 through 21. Don't store up treasures here on earth where moth and rust destroy them and thieves break in and steal. Store for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust cannot destroy and thieves do not break in and steal. Wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will be also. what you're really passionate about, just look at a person's treasure. What's important to them? Well, he says, verse 25, that's why I tell you, don't worry about everyday life, whether you have enough food and drink or enough clothes to wear. Now, he's talking to people who probably didn't have a closet full of clothes. They're worried, am I going to have food to eat tomorrow, something to drink tomorrow, some clothes to wear? We don't worry about those things. We stand in a closet that's full of clothes and we're worried, and we say, I don't have anything to wear. We're worried what others going to think. And so, do I have the right clothes? I remember seeing a waitress not long ago had, you're not going to believe it, holes in all her jeans. I left a really big tip, that meant she was with it. She was cool. I mean, she had holes in her jeans, I don't have holes in my jeans. I'm not with it. I'm not part of that, And so, it's like, and there's going to be a time when holes in the jeans, really, you have holes in your jeans? You see, it all changes. And so we're worried about what we wear or what we don't wear, or what we go to eat, and do I have enough money for the $5 caramel latte, mocha latte, whatever it is, and everybody else is getting it, but I don't have the money, and so I'm worried, am I out, am I in? All that stuff begins to eat you up. Down in verse 31 and 32, so don't worry about these things, saying, what am I going to eat? What will I drink? What will I wear? These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers. But your heavenly Father already knows all your needs. And so he says in the middle of all that, back up in verse 28, he says, don't worry about your clothes. Look at the lilies of the field, how they grow. They don't work. They don't make clothing. Yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed like one of these. I just cut these today. Went out in the yard and cut them. These guys didn't worry. It's been raining so much we don't have any sun. I don't know. And this morning when I left for church, they were all drooping over because the sun wasn't out yet. They weren't worried. God's got it. I'm going to pass these around. I want you to just look at these flowers and realize if God takes care of these, who he says today they're just here and tomorrow these are going to be wilted. I cut them right before I came just because I want to make sure they didn't wilt, because they're just going to go away. We're going to throw them away. These won't be here next week, but you will. And so he says, if God takes care of these, he's going to take care of you. Just pass them around, look at them, and just know God's got it. And then finally, worried about what really matters. Picking the right person is something that really matters. The person you're going to be married to. Rocky, it says 1:31. How much time can I steal? Can I take a little more? Okay. Well, I got to tell you this story. I was in college, met this girl, Melinda Cleveland. And we fell in love. It was good. Asked her to marry me. She agreed.
Get objections to that. No objection. You just go ahead and tell her what she was.
Okay. She was, I didn't want to say this, and for my wife, she was the beauty queen, Miss Baxter County, Arkansas. She was hot, okay? Not even in the same stratosphere as my lovely wife, though. But my wife wasn't vain like that. She didn't go to those things, those beauty contests. She didn't want them all. But anyway, I asked her to marry me. She agreed. We're down to February, going to get married in June. And she comes to me and she says, Kurt, I don't think I'm ready to get married. And I said, oh, okay. Do you want to postpone the date or something? She said, I don't think I'm ready to get married to you. Oh man, it was painful. But you know what got me through it? I'd been praying from the day I started dating her. I said, God, I'm looking for a wife. I mean, I was on the hunt. I'm looking for a wife. And so if this is the one, you let me know. If this is not the one, you break us up. I prayed that the day she broke up with me. And I said, okay, God, you're in control. I'm not going to worry about it. Oh, was I heartbroken? Yeah, I was devastated. Made it through that summer, came to Harding, met Roxy. Started praying the same prayer about her. We've been married in May, it'll be 43 years. So we get worried about the things that really matter. God's got it. And if you just trust Him, it's okay. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah, there'll be disappointments, there'll be heartaches, there'll be all kinds of things you'll deal with, but you say, okay, God, you're in control, and you got it. And so he says in verse 33, seek the kingdom of God above all else, and live righteously, and He'll give you everything that you need. You don't have to worry about it. He's got it. The God who created the universe knows your needs. And He wants you to tell Him, this is what I really want. But God, you're in control. You know what's best. You see what I can't see. You know what I can't know. So if you know that, I'm going to trust you. If the girl breaks up with me, God, thank you. That wasn't the right one. And I'll keep trusting you. As I conclude, I want to give you something that changed my life when it comes to worry. Okay? There are two basic needs that we all have that can cause us to worry. Two basic needs. And God put both of these in your life. You say, wait a second, God put them in my life and that's what I worry about? Yeah, it's because we look usually in the wrong place for these two basic needs to be satisfied. Number one is the need to be secure. We all want it. We all need it. It fuels worry over what others think. I want to have friends. I want them to like me, and so that's my security. It also fuels money. Also fuels that my stuff. You know, do I have enough stuff? Do I have as much stuff? Do I have the right stuff? All that stuff we worry about because we think that gives us security. Well, I'll tell you, you get my age, I'm 65 in March, next month. I'm getting on Medicare, okay? I'm an old guy. And it's time, most people are thinking about retirement. And I went and talked to a financial counselor and he said, do you have longevity in your family? And I said, well, my grandpa died at 96, my dad's 88. And he said, oh, okay, that's bad. I was like, why is that bad? Because you don't have enough money to live that long, okay? So I said, all right, God's got this. I don't lose sleep over that. He's taking care of me. He knows my needs. He took care of those flowers that you're passing around. He's going to take care of me. Okay, so first of all, that need for security goes from now till probably you die. The second basic need that causes worry is the need for significance. I want to be somebody. I want to make a difference. I want to accomplish something. It fuels our worry because we think, everyone else is getting ahead. I'm not. I'm not as smart as everybody else. I don't look like everybody else. I don't come with the same background. I got a lot of baggage. Everybody else doesn't have that baggage. We don't know what baggage they're carrying. But we want to be somebody. And so we try to do that in relationships. We try to do that with jobs. We try to do that with all sorts of things. Well, finally, I want to tell you why God put those two basic needs in you, not so you'd worry, but so you'd turn to Him. You see, He fills those needs like nothing else in this world can. Security and significance. God put those two basic needs in all of us so that we would discover that He's the only one who can meet those needs. I want to leave you with this verse, my favorite verse, Romans 5 and verse 8. But God demonstrated His love for us in this, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. If that doesn't give you security that the God of the universe loved you so much that He gave His only Son to die for you, there's nothing in this world that's going to match that. So you can keep looking, but you'll always find you fall short. You got to find something else to try to give you that security. It's found in Jesus Christ and the cross. And then significance. You want to be somebody? God said, I want you to be my child. Yeah, but I'm a sinner. That's right. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us, that we might be His sons and His daughters for all eternity. Man, that takes away the worry. And y'all made me feel comfortable just being with y'all and knowing that you're seeking to know Him and to get rid of the worries of the world and walk close with Him as our God. Thank y'all.